USA Eagles against the All Blacks. Number 17 in the world against number 2. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, folks, this weekend. That is the second international on after the... it's on Sunday, I think, at least New Zealand time. I think it's... that'll be Saturday America time. But it is... yeah, it's following on from the Japan and Australia game. On paper, it looks, folks, like it could get pretty messy. Had a look through the squads. We'll go through the squads, some of the caps, and yeah. But I've had a look at it, and it looks like it could get pretty messy. Predictions, we'll put those in there as well. 17, like I mentioned, against number 2. 74-6, I think, is the last time they met back in 2014 in Chicago. That was a pretty messy one in itself. I think the US has played the Māori All Blacks a couple of times since then, but hasn't actually played the All Blacks themselves. So, yeah, it looks like it could be a bit of a tough one. I mean, both sides have got changed lineups, to be fair. The All Blacks have named a pretty experimental lineup, to put it lightly, but the US are likewise without pretty much all of their big guns. The US team's got a bunch of guys who play in Europe. Those guys are not available for this game because it's in the end of October, not part of the test window. So if you look at this US team, compared to the team that lost 35-15 away to Uruguay a few weeks ago, lost to Uruguay, they're without their whole front row. So it's Harmon, Fawsitt, and Mullen. So Harmon and Mullen are the guys who were on the bench last time. They're getting a start. You got Nate Brakeley and Nick Civetta. Those guys are the same locks who played in the last game, so that's kind of a bit of experience. Guerra is still there at 6, although he's moving from 7. Germihuys is in there at 7. If you've seen the MLR, you'll probably know Hanco Germihuys because he's a unit. I love the saying a big unit. He's a physical specimen. He loves contact, he loves carrying the ball, very aggressive ball carrier, scores tries, gets turnovers, big tackles. He's one to look out for. I'm proper happy he's back. That's a bit of good news. Dolan's still there at 8. He's one of the guys who helps run their line out as well, so he's a bit of a key player. Augspurger and Carty are the 9-10 combo. Now, if you don't follow US rugby, that's not their starting 9-10 combo. Both those guys are overseas, and Ruben De Haas and AJ McGinty. Although McGinty wasn't available for the Uruguay games anyway due to injury. But yeah, so they're kind of without 2 of their guys, although those guys were both on the bench for the last game, so they're getting a start. Campbell and Lopeti is the same midfield, so Campbell's the captain. Lopeti's kind of a more dynamic ball-carrying 13. Campbell's a bit of a physical dude as well. But I think in terms of X-Factor, Lopeti's probably your guy. Matyas and James are the wings. I don't think they've got a heck of a lot of caps. James is on his debut. And Matyas, I think, got his debut maybe this year, but I could be mistaken about that. Hooley is there at fullback, so he comes up from the bench. They got debutants on the bench as well. Gough, the hooker, he's on his first cap. Pifeleti, that's the brother of the other Pifeleti, Capelli. This one's Faka'osi. Pifeleti, he's on his debut as reserve prop. Waldren is there. Mahoni. They got Baska. He's got like 1 cap, 2 caps. Dabulas. There's a lot of inexperience on the US bench. 3 debutants, 3 guys with 1 cap, and 1 guy with 2 caps. So yeah, that's a little bit concerning when I look at the All Blacks lineup in comparison. Which is equally experimental, like I say. There's a lot of guys who I'm not so windy here. There's a lot of guys who haven't been playing a heck of a lot of rugby. You got De Groot. We didn't see him during the rugby championship, but he's been with the squad. Almua is there. He's still in single-digit caps, even if it feels like he's been with the All Blacks for ages. And Ta'avao, who I think is the most experienced of the 3 with 18 caps. So it's not a hugely experienced All Blacks front row. But I mean, Almua's dynamic, so he's not going to be taking any prisoners, is he? Whitelock and Vaa'i is the lock and duo, so both of those guys are changes from the last squad. Remember, Whitelock missed out on the last few games because he was in New Zealand, and Vaa'i has been there or thereabouts. He's been kind of plying his trade and getting his caps when they've been on. He's not had a heck of a lot of caps, but he's coming along nicely. So it's a good kind of experienced young guy combo, and he's proved himself to be a pretty, I guess, a good physical runner for a lock compared to Whitelock, who's more, stock standard. Carries the ball a couple of meters and makes a heap of tackles and runs the line out and does all the more traditional lock stuff. Jacobson moves to 6, so Papali'i's in at 7 and Satuta's in at 8. Good to see Satutu get some time because he's not had a heck of a lot, and he is like an out-and-out 8. Christie and Mo'unga is 9-10, so Christie is another one who's not had a lot of caps. And Mo'unga, man, you all know about him. He could run riot if given some space. Tupaia and Enor, another couple of guys who've not had a heck of a lot of time, but both show a lot of potential. If Enor can stay fit especially. And Will Jordan and George Bridge, the two Crusaders wingers, plus D-Mac at fullback. Like, these guys could score a lot of tries, man. Like, this is a bit worrying. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the All Blacks have got, they're light on caps, and they've still got nigh on like 700, albeit with some guys who've got a ton. Like Whitelock's got plus of 100. Bodie Barrett's on the bench. I forgot to mention the bench. Bowden's there, ALB's there, TJ's there. Sam Cane's back in, which is good news. Josh Lord will get his debut. Tyrell Lomax is there. George Bauer, Dane Cole. So there's a bunch of guys like Dane Coles and Sam Cane. These guys have got like 70 caps apiece, but yeah. I reckon it's close to 700 caps for the All Blacks. Whereas the US is like 333. And that's an experimental All Blacks lineup. So, I know the All Blacks get more games than the US does, but the US didn't play at all in 2020. But yeah, I'm a bit worried this one could get a bit messy, folks. It was messy enough in 2014, but yeah, we will see. It is being played in Washington, D.C. It's 3:30 local time, which is a nice afternoon game. It's on Flow Rugby in the States, so if you guys want to watch that and you haven't signed up to Flow, there's a link in the description. They're an affiliate, so happy days. Check them out. They'll have it live or on demand. It's on Sky here in New Zealand, 8:30 in the morning, so if you want to get up, have your brekkie and watch some rugby, that's not a bad one to be doing. In terms of the predictions, the Rugby Forecast algorithm says 41 points, which honestly I think might be modest. I'm happy to be mistaken. My predictions, if you ever followed me in Super Brew, sometimes I get them good, sometimes I'm well off the mark, but the bookies are saying 68. Yeah, 68, so just looking at the US bench is troubling. That without most of their kind of, the front rowers, which is like the engine room, and then the playmakers, they're 9-10, so yeah. And having 3 guys making their debut against the All Blacks, that's a wee bit hairy, isn't it? But we'll see. Fingers crossed the Eagles guys at home can give the All Blacks a game. But everything on paper says it's going to be a hiding. I guess it's good the game's not played on paper because then we actually get to watch the dudes do their thing. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's going to be a really one-sided? Do you think it's going to be 50 points, 60, 70 points? Or do you think the Eagles guys can hold out? Anybody? Oh, that wind is ferocious. Anybody predicting an Eagles upset? It'll be a pretty bold pick for an Eagles upset. I'm going to go close the windows. Anyway, you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.